Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we are ranking every single day in Postal 2. That is all 12 days, 5 from the main game, 2 from Apocalypse Weekend, and another 5 from Paradise Lost. The ranking criteria is very simple. Firstly, I'm basing it on objective variety. Are there a lot of different objectives? Can you complete the objectives in different ways? For instance, you know, just waiting through a line, or skipping through and murdering everybody. And of course, are most of the objectives good, or are they bad? Then we've got difficulty. This isn't a big deal to me. I don't find most of it to be difficult, but it will be slightly factored into the rankings. The moment-to-moment gameplay, of course, is a big deal, especially when some of the days try to incorporate different things, such as platforming or boss fights, how well they do it, but also how tedious an objective might be in a day. Of course, at the end of the day though, the most important factor here is my own opinion on how much I enjoyed each day. And with all of that out of the way, let's get into the rankings. Number 12. At last place, I've got Apocalypse Weekend's Sunday. The objectives for this day are all over the place. First of all, you got to kill 80 zombies, then kill 10 elephants, then get a nuke to nuke all of Paradise. Then you finally save Champ, and at the end of it, you have a boss fight where you have to beat Mad Cow Mike J. It's no secret I'm not a big fan of Apocalypse Weekend, and Sunday is chock full of what I hate about it. Firstly, starting with killing 80 zombies is ridiculous, and then you go straight into killing 10 elephants, which I don't even understand why that was a mission. It seemed completely, utterly pointless, and just stuff to pad out Apocalypse Weekend, which seems like most of their objectives in general. Getting the nuke is probably the best objective in the entirety of Sunday, but then after that you got to save Champ, which was, it was alright, and then you got the worst boss fight in the series, one of the worst boss fights I've ever played against Mike J, and all of that culminating together just sours Apocalypse Weekend and puts it right at the bottom. Number 11 is Wednesday, Paradise Lost. I'm shocked that I didn't have both Apocalypse Weekend days together, but for Wednesday, we've got 3 very simple objectives. One is to gather charity money, next one is to get the breast pump, and then finally, you got to get AC parts. Of course, with a lot of the Paradise Lost days, including Wednesday, you also have a fight at the end. This one is a boss fight with the bitch. I think this is actually the best out of the falling out with the faction missions in Paradise Lost, just because it's very short, it's very simple, and it's just a nice little boss fight. It's not too difficult. You just walk backwards and spray her with dual M16s, but at least it doesn't lag on like a lot of the other ones do. Other than that, the charity money objective I quite enjoy. I like how there are 2 ways to do it. You can either go around and get it all by panhandling if you're a madman, or you could go and fight Zach Ward in another boss fight, or if you're a Giga Chad, you can do both. The problems come with the other objectives. Getting the AC parts isn't particularly interesting. One of them is put right next to you, which just seems completely pointless. And then getting the breast pump is quite honestly probably the worst objective in the entirety of Postal 2. The Ebola cows are a pain in the ass. It's not too difficult, but at first it's just awkward, and I didn't enjoy it in the slightest. Number 10, we have the other part of Apocalypse Weekend, Saturday. Apocalypse Weekend Saturday's objectives involve donating DNA, escaping the hospital, getting some food, killing 21 mad cows, and returning the Gold Master. This starts off deceptively good. The beginning of Apocalypse Weekend is probably the best part of Apocalypse Weekend, and then it all just keeps on going downhill from there, with the first one that kind of shows you that this is kind of a bit shit is the kill 21 mad cows objective. I think it's only looked on a bit fondly because you find out that you can lob a sledgehammer into a cow's ass, and that's funny. but it is probably the most tedious objective outside of kill 80 zombies maybe, but even that may not be as tedious, as most of the time I run all the way around the farm and miss at least one cow and have to go searching for it again. Apocalypse Weekend in general falls flat. On top of the boring objectives, you got barely anything to explore. It really isn't worth your time. I'll just move on to Paradise Lost instead. Number 9. Monday, Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost doesn't particularly start out too well. It's not really like terrible. I mean, it kind of is because I've got it quite low. But the objectives you have involve asking about Champ, checking animal control, eat, and speak to the wise man. The ask about Champ objective gets a bit tedious. The joke drags on a little bit too long about how everyone is scared of Champ, and it takes a bit too long for someone to give you a straight answer. Checking animal control is definitely the best objective out of the bunch here, and even that's just alright. Speaking to the wise man, as much as I love seeing Crotchy again, is just exposition that didn't really need to be in there, or didn't need to be as long, in my opinion. On top of that, the biggest problem that Monday has in Paradise Lost is how limited in area you are. You have the one little like train yard area and the mall, and I think maybe like an alleyway. I can't even remember. There's probably like, yeah, 3 areas at most. There's barely anywhere to explore. It's a bit too limiting, and because of that, it's at number 9. Number 8, Thursday. Our first main game day ranked here is Thursday, which involves getting napalm, getting Crotchy, getting steak, and then paying a ticket. There's far too many objectives that are all just go and get something. And aside from Crotchy, the others aren't that memorable. I think steaks try to be by being shocking and showing that it's the homeless that are the meat, but quite frankly, it just is a bit boring. Same with the get napalm. Pay tickets, an okay objective, but overall, Thursday is just very lackluster, with the highlight being Crotchy because he is a bullsack, and that's funny. Number 7, Monday. Monday is of course where it all starts with 3 very simple objectives. Pick up your paycheck, cash said paycheck, and then go and buy some milk. Now this is where my kind of like midpoint in the rankings is. Of course it's not right in the middle, but by that I mean anything before this is either complete crap or at best just decent, and anything after this is pretty good to great. But Monday on its own I think is an excellent introduction to Postal 2, giving you enough to explore, enough wackiness with the anti-video game protesters, and showing the ability that not every objective has to be done through violence. You can just wait in line. However, sometimes, even if you wait in line, it's all for naught, like cashing the paycheck, as robbers still enter the bank anyway. It's a great start for the game that doesn't get too wacky, lets you know what's going to happen, while also leaving enough room for the rest of the days to build on and get more and more insane. Number 6, Wednesday. Wednesday has 4 objectives. The first one is to piss on your dad's grave. The second is to simply vote. Then you pick up an Xmas tree, and finally pick up your laundry, as after the first objective you are turned into a gimp. Realistically, I could probably put Wednesday around where Thursday is as well. I think it's just a little bit more memorable, which is why it gets over my middle mark, mostly because of the GIMP section. The other objectives are a bit, the vote one's alright, it's a nice little joke, but that's all it is. And getting the Xmas tree is probably the most forgettable objective in the entire game. Number 5, Tuesday, Paradise Lost. Tuesday, Paradise Lost is another fairly simple day with only 3 objectives. First is to get toilet paper, then deliver motherboards, and finally wreck the competition. The reason this is above Wednesday and Thursday is because it is also a fairly just average day. all of the objectives, I think, are just good. None of them stand out too much, but none of them are straight bad. What I do like is how in Deliver the Motherboards, you can get a more peaceful solution. However, this one's quite difficult compared to a lot of the others, which is just how long can you stand and wait around for. This involves getting a bunch of weapons, including a rocket launcher, which by Tuesday, I don't even know how you would do that. So it adds a bit more replayability for people who are well versed at the game, who have learned all the locations of all the weapons. But other than that, the rest of the objectives are just okay. It's a fairly inoffensive day, and because of that, it's at number 5. Number 4, Friday. There was no way I could put either at the end of the week too low on this list, but here is our first one, Friday at number 4, which includes 4 objectives: get the alternator, pick up a package, go to Uncle Dave's B-Day, and an optional objective to go to the clinic. In all honesty, most of these objectives aren't even that good. Getting the alternator, I barely even remember. Pick up the package was okay. Go to the clinic was a nice little fun joke. Uncle Dave's B-Day definitely carries these objectives though. Mocking the Waco siege with a bunch of hippies fighting a bunch of police. It's all explosions and carnage around. It's a great time. But the most important part is when all of these objectives are done, the apocalypse happens. The apocalypse in Friday is the main reason why it's below Friday from Paradise Lost, because quite frankly, it doesn't really do a lot. It just causes a ton of chaos while you're trying to get back to your RV. It's an okay finish. I feel like there could have been something a bit more to the apocalypse, but at the end of the day, ending Postal 2 with a bunch of carnage is kind of fitting for the game. Number 3, Friday, Paradise Lost. Got 3 simple objectives again: getting the C4, getting a blasting cap, and pruning the herbs. I think that this Friday's main objectives are worse than the previous Fridays, especially pruning the herb. That is one of the more tedious objectives and one that I genuinely don't enjoy. The thing is as well, it takes place at Uncle Dave's compound and is way worse than the Uncle Dave mission on normal Friday. So you may be asking, Jack, why do you have it above Friday then? Well, of course, it has to be about what you do afterwards. The hellhole and the boss fights definitely elevate the ending a bit more. On top of that, there's a little bit of replayability for those who want to explore the 2 different endings. I myself just got the fuck out of there because at that point I was way done with Postal 2. I didn't want to waste any more time, but you could visit all of the faction leaders and get a different ending. Number 2, Tuesday. I really struggled with ranking these last 2, but at number 2 we have Tuesday, which objectives involve confessing your sins, the infamous meme,
sign my petition,
returning a book, and getting Gary Coleman's autograph. Out of all of this, the only objective I would say is a bit subpar, lackluster, is confess your sins. The rest of them are amazing, especially get signatures and getting Gary's autograph, although those are mostly carried by being memes. But returning the book is also quite good, and I really enjoy the joke of how the protesters there are anti-book, which is just ridiculous. On top of that, I think it's just a perfect escalation of what was set up on Monday, taking some fairly mundane activities such as returning a book and cranking it up to 11. Number 1, Thursday, Paradise Lost. For our top pick, it had to be Thursday, Paradise Lost, which I think has the best set of objectives. First, you have to get the cure chemicals for El Puro Loco, then get some mechanical stilts for the coalmen. Next, sabotage karaoke, which I'm not even really sure why we did that, and finally recover the cure you found earlier after getting knocked out after finding it. I have nothing bad to say about these objectives. Get Cure Chemicals was a decent, just like fairly normal objective where you just run through and kill everybody. Same with Recover the Cure. Of course, at that point, you have to go and retrieve all of your stuff as well, because you lost all of that. Get a Mechanical Stilt is probably my favorite objective in the game, mostly because of the unique enemy that is added, that being the toilet robots. And then Sabotage Karaoke is a nice little wind down, a very, very simple objective that is all based on one joke, and that's that the dude cannot sing.
Oops, I nuked you again. I pressed the button, wiped out society.
The only problem I have with Thursday in Paradise Lost is that I think out of all the days in Paradise Lost that involve you fighting the faction at the end, this is the worst. It involves a bunch of platforming, which is annoying. It involves some insta-death stuff. It's way too long. That kind of did make me want to put it at number 2. But the main crux of Thursday is amazing. That has been that for the rankings. Let me know what you guys thought. I've been CompactJack, and I'll see you guys next time.